This presentation is about the dangers and the paradox of getting what you want, a Buddhist and Hedonic Treadmill perspective. And I'm Howard Chong. So people like getting what they want, but what if there's a catch? This is all about the catch. So we want things. This graph to the right, this is how a normal person thinks about life. If I get lots of what I want, I will be very happy, this top right. Some of what I want makes me half happy. None of what I want makes me unhappy. This seems like something just so obvious no one would disagree with. Okay. But what is this happiness that we talk about? I think there's absolutely 100%. There's some truth to this. Getting what you want is a happy thing. But the happy this refers to is a momentary, fleeting happiness. We might be happy in the moment, but it won't last. Or in a Buddhist sense, it won't protect us. But if we are focused on moments of happiness, we naturally just chase getting more of what we want. If we're not getting a lot of what we want sometimes, we want to avoid that and get more of what we want. We want to change the outside world. Getting what you want is the outside world. We want the outside world to match what we want, and then we'll be happy. So the goal, stay in the top right. Get lots of what you want, lots of what you want. Well, the reality is every life has bits of everything. We have some days we get lots of what we want, some days where we don't get, and some days we're very happy, and some days we're less happy. This is also nothing controversial. But the hedonic treadmill is something that I think people don't realize as much. And this is, I think, a pretty consistent finding. If we're constantly chasing more and more, we won't be satisfied by what we got. So instead of having all of these stars, what if once we get a lot of what we want, everything starts shifting? Imagine there's like super lots. There's a super lots category. Well, all those stars shifted to the left. By wanting more and more, the goalpost moves, right? In using a soccer analogy. The thing what counts as lots of getting what we want is no longer what we used to think was what lots was. Things that made us very happy don't do it anymore, and this is the hedonic treadmill. So we left with a dissatisfaction. We're not very happy because the things that we used to think were really great, lots of what we want, is now just some. We want that more, more, more. That's what the hedonic treadmill is. Instead of thinking about happiness, let's think about a paradox by adding this idea of safety. Put safety on the y-axis. This might be this graph where how safe you feel on the y-axis and getting what you want on the x-axis. This might be what people addicted to happiness think is true. Happiness is safety and the only possibility. If I get lots of what I want, I feel very safe. If I get some of what I want, I'll feel half safe. If I get none of what I want, I'll feel unsafe. This seems to logically-ish follow. But what we might have is people who actually feel perpetually unsafe. And this is, I think, a larger and larger group of people. Chasing happiness makes most people feel perpetually unsafe. They are always chasing that high. Like, I'm getting lots of what I want, and I'm happy, but then it wears off, and it's not it, and we need more and more. So that needing more and more can drive us to feeling continuously dissatisfied or perpetually unsafe. So people like this are always chasing that high. They're addicted to drugs or alcohol. They aren't addicted not to drugs or alcohol, but to being happy and satisfied. That happiness monster inside of us runs the show and says, give me more, give me more, give me more. Having a monster that's always there nagging you, give me more, give me more, give me more, is a pretty unsafe proposition. It's like having a kid who's never satisfied, just keep bugging you. I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more. Right? This, to be more fair, it might not all be terrible, right? I added the top right dot right there. If we get exactly what we want, we can feel very safe. Otherwise, right, exactly what we want, we're safe. But otherwise, we feel pretty unsafe. This is something that's super fragile. It's super inflexible. It's kind of like my way or the highway. Absolutist is another word I've heard used for it. everything sucks except one point, the way it needs to be, and if it's not that way, I'm going to feel unhappy and unsafe. But from a Buddhist perspective, from a mindfulness perspective, from a psychological perspective of what's possible, right? If you have a game and you have only one winner, right, that means everyone else is a loser except one winner. But can we have a situation where everyone can feel safe? And feeling safe doesn't depend on what's going on outside. So feeling safe is possible, represented by this sort of ideal line. The graph to the right is that one can feel very safe in all circumstance. So you get a lot of what you want, you feel very safe. Some of what you want, you feel very safe. None of what you want, you feel very safe. You might not be happy, there's a little frustration in there, but it doesn't disturb anything in your core. It doesn't make you do stupid things. That's the goal of training the mind. If you train the mind well, you can get to this. In Buddhism, this relates to ideas like being unshakable or unperturbable, solid. So how to feel safe? The first part is just admitting it. In an equation, you might say happiness does not mean safety, right? Getting what you want makes you feel happy, and that might feel safe, has a safeiness, kind of like a truthiness to it, but it really doesn't offer much shelter in mental storms, right? So we realize we thought we were here, and maybe we can convince ourselves, yeah, I'm really good and whatnot. But if you really listen, when you're happy, meaning getting lots of what you want, when you're not getting lots of what you want, you might just feel unsafe in a deep or broad way, because you're constantly feeling like, I need more, I need more, I need more. This is the opposite. Feeling like this, you don't need more. You're okay. You can have lots, you can have little. You're fine either way. So how to feel safe starts with realizing the goal of getting lots of what you want is a dead end, right? I've drawn it here. It's not quite as bad, but getting what you want, you might feel a little safe, but then the goalposts move and you want more and you want more and you're not satisfied. It is a dead end. That should get you to be curious. What isn't a dead end? What can we do? Is something else possible? So how to feel safe? Training the mind is not a dead end. But that phrase, training the mind, is too fancy and abstract. So a good place to start is to just practice feeling safe. Like these two yellow stars, when something not so good happens, deliberately focus on trying to feel half safe or very safe. This is even when things are falling apart. So notice I didn't put it when you're not getting anything of what you want, but when you're getting a little bit of what you want, or maybe you need to do it when you're getting lots of what you want, and you normally don't feel safe, just ask yourself questions like, do I need to feel unsafe? Do I need to feel unsafe? This might be generosity practice, being like, it's okay if someone else wins. Maybe I'll get it the next time. Or I tried my best. Or I learned things from this situation. Or everything's crappy, but tomorrow things will be better. You know, these little bits of positive thinking could be part of it, but it could also just be realizing things like, bad things happen to everyone. Bad things happen to me all the time. It'd be silly to take it super personally and be like, well, the world's not okay if I don't get what I want. So you're getting, in this case, maybe 20% of what you want. Practice. See, can I feel safe, half safe, or fully safe when I'm only getting 20% of what I want? Actually actively practice that. It's not easy, right? But once you do it, you'll get some evidence. Safety is partly a choice. It's not about the outside world giving you what they want. Although that is a nice way. If you can find a way to always get exactly what you want, and that's your route to safety, go for it. But for the rest of us, where the outside world goes from getting lots of what I want to some of what I want, it just oscillates, goes back and forth, super variable. It's like rolling a dice. Is it going to be a good day or a bad day? Right? Safety is a choice. Even when I have a bad day, I can feel safe. So if you succeed even once in getting one of these yellow stars, it's important. This is evidence. This is important evidence. It is possible to feel safe and okay even when things aren't going your way. So the combination of what you're looking for is, I'm not getting what I want, or exactly what I want. I'm not happy or fun, or not totally happy and not totally fun, but I'm still feeling safe and okay. The word enough is a good question. It's like, I'm not getting exactly what I want, but I'm getting enough. That can really change your thinking, and in a neurochemical way, like your body panicking, you won't panic. You'll be like, I have enough, this is okay, I'm stable, right? It can be a choice, right? You won't get this up arrow every time. You might try 20 times, but even if you just get this once after trying 20 times, it's a very valuable step. You've broken out of the prison of happiness equals safety, right? If happiness equals safety and getting what you want equals safety, you only have one choice: get more of what you want. This isn't true, and it's very misleading if you think that way. Here's another way to look at it. Now that you know that the up arrow is possible, you start realizing choices. Karma, which is a Buddhist, an ancient word, it's also a common word in ancient, karma in Sanskrit or Pali, karma or kama, it's as common a word as we use today of like choices or actions. That's what the word karma means. So it's just choices and actions. So you've spent your whole life trying to be the red horizontal arrow. Actually, it's purple in this screen right now. Trying to get more of what you want, maybe seeing that as the only way, as the only possible way. So you try really hard. I need to get more of what I want, more of what I want. Smarter, better grades, better relationships, better food, better friends, better this, better that, better that. This is a very radical shift in thinking. It's saying, I don't need better friends or food or money or career or all those things. I need a better brain that deals with these situations. So that's that green arrow. You have a choice now. What do you spend your energy on? Do you want to spend it exclusively on this? Or do you want to spend some of it on that green arrow? I'm not recommending you exclusively dump this arrow and go here. Right? Getting what you want is an important part of life. But it's not, if you only do that, it can be very problematic. So how to get to feeling safe? Right? Over time, you practice the green arrows. You practice the green arrows, you get little bits. Over time, it gets to be more consistent. This is under your control, choosing to do the green arrow or try for the green arrow. The x-axis, right, how much of getting what you want, how much of that you get, that's the outside world. You can't control that. But you can control how safe you feel despite getting how much you're getting. Maybe you clean up your life. Drinking is a big problem in the US and Asia and many places. Or you clean up your relationships, codependence and problematic issues there. And your behavior, maybe you have violent tendencies or anger or blame or excuse making or any of those things. You try to clean that up, and you're really cleaning up your mind, right? This is an internal thing. It doesn't change anything in the outside world, but you can totally change your experience by changing your mind and your inside world. Meditation helps too, in that you get sensitive to your own thought patterns. This is a la CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Your beliefs have consequences. And if you can change your beliefs, right, you get a trigger, something in the outside world happens, or maybe in your inside world, and then you adopt a belief, and that leads to certain bad choices. So if you just adopt different beliefs, you don't have to change the world still has those triggers, but if you change your beliefs, you don't have to have bad consequences. Here, the consequence is just how safe or unsafe you feel. And if you change your beliefs, you can say, oh, even if I'm getting some of what I want, I can still feel pretty safe. And over time, you can move up and up, and these curves are just showing different ways that it could be, and you'll get up there. Often slowly, but sometimes it's surprising how quickly it can happen. Well, all this takes effort, and there is a nasty gotcha. Those green arrows aren't easy. You don't just say, oh, today I'm going to do this green arrow, tomorrow that green arrow, third day, fourth day, fifth day, okay, now I'm perfect. That's not how these things work. I wish it were. If you find out a way to do that, tell me. But in all my experiences, these are very hard changes. So another graph helps us think about this. This is the graph about growth. So how to grow. All this takes a lot of effort, and there's a nasty gotcha. When we feel unsafe, it's very hard to look at our mental patterns. Our amygdala or brain panics and looks for quick fixes like food or TV. These are quick lateral band-aids. Like lateral meaning, oh, if I feel unsafe, let's do a lot of food and TV. Okay, now I feel at least half safe. Now I feel a little stable, right? That's what our brain looks for when we feel unsafe. When we feel unsafe, it's not, I have in this graph. If we try to explore and grow fast when we feel unsafe, it backfires, right? It backfires. Ever see when people shut down, right? They're learning, and then something flips and they're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. That's often an unsafe in some sense of the word. This is what happens if they try to do that red triangle. They're unsafe, they're trying to grow fast, or they're trying to do too much. When they feel unsafe, they will shut down. This doesn't work. So when you're unsafe, you can't do a ton of growth. You need to at least be half safe or very safe to do that. Right? Well, all this takes effort, and there's that nasty gotcha. Those green arrows aren't easy. The first one is the hardest. Notice here on that first one, we start in the unsafe situation. We start in that unsafe situation, and then we'll grow. We're trying to grow from being mostly perpetually unsafe to being a little more safe. But this is a paradox. The first one is the hardest. How do we grow so we can feel more safe? Well, we have to grow. But we can't grow because we are unsafe. So what can we do? Right? This is where this graph really comes in. If you're feeling unsafe, you just need to do self-care. Reading, taking a shower, maybe watching some TV, lighting a candle, reading Brene Brown, just something to get you feeling like it's okay. But I don't want to go into that. But anything that can get you stabilized so we can find ways to move to the right. So those things hopefully will move you to half safe. Sometimes we're unsafe and we're self-caring and self-coping, and we're actually still pretty unsafe, right? So if we watch some YouTube videos that kind of puff us up and be like, you're awesome, you can do it, don't worry, everything's going to be okay, right? That might actually make us feel half safe or even very safe, but it might just sort of wallpaper over what's happening. So you just gotta watch out. The wallpaper over is not bad. If we're feeling totally panicky and it gets us to feel unsafe but not panicky, that's great. But at some point, we do want to find things that move us to being half safe, right? And we can tell we're half safe because we have a little bit of wiggle room or capacity to explore and grow, right? We're not at this yikes. We're unsafe. Do self-care, growth not very, I'll drop the word, not very good or not very possible. But when we're half safe, we can be caution. We don't want to go too fast. We don't want to explore too much, but we can grow and do things that we know. And if we do ultimately get to very safe, we can go even further. But once we are stabilized, we gotta then decide, right? Do we stay cozy with self-care or try to stretch and grow a little? That's these two different arrows here. Let's talk about those two arrows. Unsafe to half safe. If we move up, right? If we move to half safe and then we move up, that's this first choice. It has a multiplier combo effect. That helps us feel more safe when we grow. Meaning we get these green arrows. They can help us just change, right? The green arrows are sort of temporary and the lines are things that we establish a new baseline. So if we have a new baseline, that gives us more safety, and then coming back here, more safety lets us grow more, right? So that growth helps us feel more safe, which means we aren't stuck in unsafe as much, which lets us grow more, etc. It's this positive, virtuous cycle, sometimes people call it. This combo effect. Feel safer, grow more, feel safer, grow more, feel safer. But there's this other possibility, this sort of looping arrow. If instead we can just stay in self-care, right? We're half safe, but we do self-care. We're yikes, self-care. So this is kind of where we binge on Netflix. Binging on Netflix is really great here because it might stabilize us. But when we're half safe, that binging is just sort of wallowing, and we can get stuck, right? We can get stuck. That stuck is just chasing more of what we want, but it's not going to actually make us feel more safe. It just gives us more of that happiness, that dopamine hit, or that like, I'm getting what I want. But we're never learning any new skills. We're not changing what our baseline looks like. So that's a choice of us. There is a situation of crippling anxiety. There are some people who feel so perpetually unsafe, that's crippling anxiety, that the first shift to the right may not be possible easily. So graphically, instead of being like that, it might be like tiny bit, right? Or it might take a lot of effort to make that whole step to half safe. So really gentle practice, like metta practice for kittens, is a good trick. What that means is you go online and you look at kitten videos, and you'll be like, aw, like these aw videos. And you'll be like, I really wish a lot of love and support and happiness for these kittens. And a gentle practice like that is a good trick to help us calm down that panic. Another word for unsafe is panic, or stress, or cortisol, or distress, things like that. So looking at kittens and feeling that awe feeling gives us a little bit of taking off that edge. We might still have unsafety in the background, but it takes off some edge. And eventually, if you do enough metta practice, this is, I think, a money-back guarantee kind of thing. If you really do that metta practice, you will feel more safe. You will see more improvements in your life, right? Otherwise, if it doesn't work or it's too hard to do that metta practice, you might need professional help, or reaching out to safe friends may be needed. Be careful not to find friends that just make you feel like you have fun, because they can co-sign your bad behavior. You don't want a justification for your bad behavior or your unsafety. You want people who are there and are calm and steady to help you explore safety, explore your unsafeness, and then try to find ways, coping mechanisms to get you to half safe. Once you get to half safe, using self-care and support networks, we can start growing. And that's when we do that first green arrow. The idea of growing is those small permanent upward shifts of the whole curve. That's also a resilience thing, right? Before, if we're on that red line, no matter what happens, we're unsafe, but especially in this area, we're unsafe. But now we might figure out, we're still, we don't have to be as unsafe when we hit a difficulty, right? On the same point here on the x-axis, we don't have to be so stuck in the difficulty. We can feel half safe. We don't have to panic as much. And that's a real big step for people. As I drew it, right, you still like to get what you want. It's a little bit better, but you're finding ways to be more okay otherwise. Right, so there's lots of different possibilities. Everyone's going to be different in the exact curves. It might be you make progress in the really bad region. It might be you make progress in the 70% region, or half, or a little less than half. So for me, this is what I had. Your curve will be your experience, but for myself, I've had times where I feel safest when I'm in the middle of getting what I want, right? This highlighted curve. If life is too good or too bad, I get thrown off. When things are too good, I'm really happy, but I get kind of arrogant or grandiose. I start thinking, I'm going to get everything that I want. And then what actually happens is that hedonic treadmill kicks in. I'm like, I'm getting lots of what I want. Maybe I can get more. Maybe I can get more. Maybe I can get more. And that makes me feel actually less safe. So getting a good half of what I want can be really good. If I'm not getting anything I want, I might still feel pretty unsafe. But the interesting part is like, getting lots of what you want is kind of a trick. It can lead you to that hedonic treadmill, grandiosity, thinking, I need more, I need more, I need more. And that can backfire and make you feel less safe. Right? But as you're feeling more and more safe, that makes growth easier and easier. Some of these later steps can be very hard. It just depends on the person. Right? I think a fair thing to say is everyone has moments where there are parts of the growth curves, right, shifting your baseline, that are easy and parts that are hard. So here's another curve. I highlighted the next curve. Other times I'm really embracing the struggle, right? I'm like, I'm struggling, but I know what to do now. I don't have to panic, right? And maybe when little things are going right, like I might reframe and be like, having a good meal, or having the rice turn out well, or having the hamburger not be burnt. I'm like really happy about this. So I get really, in that positive thinking kind of attitude. But I'm less safe. I'm still pretty safe, but I'm less safe when everything's more mixed and neutral. This pattern might be called impatience, right? When I'm getting half of what I want, I'm like, no, I really want to get more of what I want or less of what I want so I can practice. But when things are just kind of meh, it can be hard to. It can just be like, no, I want to grow. So this might be an impatience to grow kind of curve. Skipping all the way to the end, over time, it is possible to get to a state of being unperturbable. I spelled that wrong. Unperturbable or unshakable. Did I spell that right? Imperturbable. I like unperturbable. It's not a word, but I like it better. Let's actually see. Perturbable. Okay. Sure, pains and annoyances still arise. You still have some days where you get more of what you want, less of what you want. Those are pains and annoyances. But they don't affect our deeper sense of safety and the calmness of our mind or heart. Meaning, if bad things happen, even sometimes really bad things, we still can have a centeredness that we don't lose. This can take a long time, but it is possible. And there's, if you are working this path, you should be making progress. If you're not making progress, talk to someone. Talk to a teacher. I'm a meditation teacher. Talk to Gil Fronsdal or watch his videos. Listen to Thanissaro Bhikkhu, Pema Chodron, many different people to explore these things. Shifting back, perpetually unsafe isn't the only possibility, right? This is what a lot of people, I think, feel like. Even if they're getting lots of what they want, they need to get exactly what they want in order to feel very safe. And they're dissatisfied everywhere else. There's that sort of story about Karens, right? Karens being like, I need this to be perfect. I need to complain to your manager if one thing is a little off, right? This is a dramatic case. If you are Karen or you know some Karens, right? This is a pretty dramatic case. It's a good one to discuss because they're feeling unsafe all the time. And they're doing it to themselves because that's a choice of how they want to live their life. Their whole life is about how can I get more of what I want? How can I move to the right? How can I move to the right and then jump up in safety and satisfaction and happiness? Instead, these curves are saying, hey, I'm not going to focus on getting what I want from the outside world too much. I will focus somewhat. I'll quit a bad job. I'll leave a bad relationship. I'll search out quality friendships. But even if I don't get those quality friendships, I want to be okay. That's the real choice and goal here. So perpetually unsafe, it's people who think, getting what I want will make me happy, and happiness is very safe. So that's what we think is going to be, but the actual is more like almost every situation you're going to be pretty unsafe and unhappy. Even when you get what you want and you're perfectly safe, you're thinking about the next hit. I think there's a poem I remember being told, even in Kyoto, amongst the cherry blossoms, I dream of Kyoto. And what that means is you can't be satisfied with what you have. You have these cherry blossoms, you're thinking about the next Kyoto or another Kyoto, some faraway, imagined, ideal Kyoto. So that was perpetually unsafe. Well, I think what's more common is actually this curve is somewhat accurate. People, when they don't get what they want, feel unsafe, but when they get what they want, they feel somewhat very safe. And it is possible. You can have a situation where your whole life is like, let's just get more of what I want. But then you have the issue of hedonic treadmill, just going back to remind you, right? You're very happy, but eventually you're not happy because it's what you think is getting lots of what you want. That goalpost, that soccer goalpost moved, and the goal is even harder or trickier to get to. So we want to think about what to do with this more common case. So mixed safety is tricky. Some people, safety does mix and go up and down based on how much they get of what they want. Life jerks them around. The outside life says, today is going to be a bad day. Today's going to be a good day. You're going to feel very safe. Oh, you're going to feel unsafe. And this curve might not be so dramatic. You might have it be more like, I'll just do a little audible here. You might have it be more like this, right? This kind of curve, right? Scroll. It might be more like this, right? You bounce around between half safe and very safe, etc. So I'm not saying you have this like straight, one-to-one kind of thing. You might have some days like this, or you might be more like that, or you might be a little more pessimist and be kind of like unsafe but half safe, etc. But the key thing is that you do get some benefit from shifting around and getting more of what you want. They spend their time chasing being on the right, getting lots of what they want and moving more and more shifts to the right. So medium safety is tricky in those ways. The Buddha observed, and you're welcome to check it, that disappointments are inevitable. There's no way to get magically always in the top right. Nobody gets 100% of what they want. But that doesn't mean that people don't chase that ghost. Right? If you ask people what they're doing with their life, and you ask, oh, so what you're trying to do is get more of what you want, I think most people would agree. And that's exactly what Buddhism points out is a dead end. Right? The more you get of what you want, the more you want, and you're going to be dissatisfied. And so the thing you really want to do is focus on how do you react to not getting what you want. That ghost, though, someday getting exactly what you want. You're like, oh, if I just get the right job, if I just get the right money, if I just get the right relationships, etc. So the Buddha put it poetically, even if you had a mountain of gold, meaning $1 billion or $10 billion or $1 trillion, even if you were king of the universe, you still wouldn't be satisfied in your mind, right? You can't stay in the top right forever. Hedonic treadmill is one reason. Other reasons are you have to age, you have to get ill, you have to die. And then random luck, right? Good weather some days, bad weather other days. There's also uglier common things, like social things. Other people can betray you or let you down. People can change. People can drift apart, right? You can try to make it so that no one betrays you, no one changes, no one drifts apart. Good luck, right? You can try to not age, not get ill, not die. But good luck, right? So these are just ideas and patterns. It's up to you to decide. The key ideas here are to really think about the relationship between these four things. Getting what you want, the happiness that comes from getting what you want, the safety or the sort of contentment overall, and then growth, which changes your baseline, your patterns, things like that. These are just ideas to inspire you. If you're happy with how your life is, there's no need to change. But if you want something different, this framework is a great roadmap. Right? In 2023, this is how you can reach me. You can contact me by email, you can schedule a meeting with me. Happy to schedule a meeting with strangers who this resonates with. Or you can check out writing. I have a lot of Buddhist writing, and specifically an article from 2020 about your safety percentage and how to check in with that. So with this, good luck, goodwill to you. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation.